Hey, Brennan here. This is channeled advice on the week ahead, and this is for October 7th through the 13th, Monday through Sunday. I've got channel messages that came through ahead of time from my spirit guides, the angels and source, and I will also be bringing through any additional information that's for your highest good, channeling them, working with my intuition as I read through these. Okay, so the first thing they would like me to start with, I have a bunch of things that came through here. So some of the main things they wanted to get to first here, again, they showed me a rainbow. Rainbow's been showing up a lot for these. Again, there is still hope on the way. Keep an eye out for hope and things that light you up. So, for example, as far as what hope could look like, it's a business opportunity that opens up for you when you are low on money. It could look like, a friend offers you some help when you need it. It could look like the universe showing you a route to success or the universe showing you a way forward, etc. So there is some form of hope on the way or even like way forward on the way that you weren't expecting. And it could be someone sends you some money, if you need help or something like that. So I'm not promising that explicitly. That's just an example, okay? Next thing, again, this came through last week, but they'd like me to bring it through again here. They showed me Titanic. They said you won't sink, even if it looks like you will. So that could be, as an example, monetarily. That could be in a number of different ways here. There's also this message that you're doing better than you think. This is actually for all of you, is something I'm getting. Like you might look, some of you, like maybe like two of you, might look like you're in dire straits, but that's going to even out as something I'm getting. I would still take action and do what you need to do and trust your intuition on all it as well. That's just what I'm getting. And, there are a lot of you who are doing a lot better than you think you are, and the universe is going to show you that. So hang in there. Is some of the energies clear that if there have been anything like energies that have been fogging the way, you're gonna see that you've been doing a lot better than maybe you've thought, or the universe is gonna show you a better way soon. Here is something I'm getting like this week or next week. So sometime in the near future is what I'm getting for this crowd here. Uh, and that's only if you really don't think you've been doing better than you think you have been recently, which I feel like is a lie anyways. Okay. So anything else on that before we move forward here? So there's like two messages. One, doing better than you think you are. Two, there's like a better way coming in for especially those of you who feel stuck or you've been in a holding pattern for a long time, like even a month or longer, like 6 months or maybe even a year. Like a lot of that's loosening up too, which is great. It's kind of like you're being birthed forward or birthed out of your holding pattern because you're ready, you're healed in the ways you need to, and it's time to move forward, which is great. So, last thing here, steal and stay strong. Not the last thing for the whole thing, but for this first bunch of messages. So, stay strong, but be flexible. So, forcing things is not the way right now. If you're just like really trying to force things in your life, probably not going to work as well as you'd hoped. Steel has some flex to it, like it has some ability to flex and bend as it needs to. So the recommendation is to be like steel in certain ways with work, business, or endeavors where it's like, yeah, you're staying strong and you're also being flexible. Like you're not just forcing things in a super specific way. It's like you have the ability to be a little bit flexible with what you're doing or how you're approaching things or what the universe is showing you. So that would be wise right now because there's a lot of change in the world and even on social media. If you do things on social media, like the platforms can change quickly. Like a new thing can be introduced like that. An old thing can be taken away. The way the algorithm works changes. So it's important that you're flexible with how much things are changing and even how much people are changing around you or just in the world. Like stuff is really in flux. So that opens a lot of opportunity if you know where to look and how to look for it and you ask for it and you're willing to flow with the change. If you're rigid, though, you might break metaphorically. Not like you as a person break, probably. It's just that's the example they're showing me where it's like if you're too rigid in this time with like forcing things or it has to be this one way and you really have like your fists clenched and like you won't allow the universe to bring things to you in a different way, you might have a bit more of a rough time than if you're like, okay, I'd like to have a lot of money and I'd really hope it would be through XYZ route. However, if the universe is going to do that through, this part time job and this other thing that opens up over here and this third thing, like that's okay because that's the best way the universe can do it right now, or that's the way it's going to work the best right now. So try not to attach to one way of doing things when there are multiple, and the universe has a lot of different ways to do things that could be better than what you have in mind. Okay. Same with manifestation, same with like love or romance or like being attached to like one person. There's a lot of ways this could unfold. It's just important you're not clinging to things and being too rigid. Okay. So you don't have to be like overly bendy, It's just what's going to work for you. Okay. So the first thing that came through ahead of time, besides that group of messages, is they showed me a hose. They just said the universe is cleaning things up for you. You're getting a spray down. So sometimes the universe does these minor cleanses for us where we're releasing certain things, or it could be literally like you're physically rearranging things in your home and like getting rid of things you don't need anymore. So the universe is doing this sort of like there's like a cleanup crew, an angelic cleanup crew that they're showing me in my visuals. It's like going into people's homes and like getting rid of items they don't need, and it's cleaning up the energies and it's getting you prepared for new opportunities coming in. So it's really a good thing. One of the things that's popping into my head as an example is I want to see where they would like me to go here. I remember reading this article and it was about this woman who she would do certain types of like healings. I think she did something more like she worked at a nail salon, but then she'd have certain customers come in and then like she'd get the message like, oh, they have this like really like their person's going to be showing up in their life soon and you should offer this like chakra balancing so that they're ready to receive it and they're prepared for it energetically. And she'd talk about how when she'd get that message and would do that, then like usually a couple weeks later, the person would come back and be like, "Oh yeah, the person showed up," and da 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 da, and then like eventually they'd get married, a couple years later. So I'm not saying that. I mean, that could be a sign for some of you, but I'm not saying that's exactly what's going to happen. It's kind of like sometimes we get these cleanups or balancings that prepare us for the next step or the next thing that's coming in, and it's important that we're maybe letting go of old energies and allowing ourselves to be sprayed down and allowing ourselves to release so that we're ready to receive the new. So it's kind of like a renewal and things like that. And there could be more that it's doing. Just know that you're getting this metaphorical spray down or maybe literal. Sometimes sometimes things show up literally too. But usually, even if it shows up that way, it's like a sign or a metaphor for what's really happening. And sometimes they like to have fun with these where they're like, oh, you step outside and your neighbor sprays you with a hose or something. Number two, they showed me chop wood, carry water. So the message is, can you stay consistent with the things that are helping you? Can you stay consistent with things that are working for you? There are big rewards for those who can. So pretty simple and straightforward. With chop wood, carry water, usually they show me that with messages that are like, carry on. And so what has been helping you lately? Like if like one meditation in particular has been helping you with a certain issue in your life or just to get to have better days, to get to better states of being, can you keep doing that? Like if you're doing exercises for money and they bring more money in, can you keep doing those exercises every day? And can you stay consistent with it even on the days you don't feel like it? Just do it anyways, because that's like showing the universe, hey, I'm committed to this. And it's one thing if your spirit guides or intuition are like, hey, we explicitly would like you to stop doing this thing and to do something else instead, or you get the intuitive message or knowing like it's time to stop this. That's different than I don't really feel like it. I'm not sure if I should do it today. I feel tired. Like I understand. At the same time, this is like, are you committed? Is kind of what this is saying. And are you willing to do the things that actually help you to have a better life? And again, big rewards for those who can stay consistent with the things that are working for you. Okay. Number three. Oh, I'm going to see if there's more with number two here. Nope. Stay consistent with the things that are working. Number three here. You are not helpless. What can you do? So there's a couple different things here because they're redirecting me to a message that's in between two and three that they're adding in now. I don't have this at a time, but they're showing me a speedboat. There's this message that things are speeding up. So hold on to your britches, Brithes. I think that's a British word, right? For pants or something. So hold on to your pants. Things are just going to be speeding up in general this month. And for some of you, it could be intense, but it doesn't mean it's bad. It could be like you get a promotion at work and you have to learn a lot of things really quickly or learn how it works. But it's not necessarily a bad thing because you're making more money and it opens up doors and opportunities in the future for the highest good for maybe even more advancement or money, or it helps you to make certain moves in the future that really serve you in your world. So it's okay if things speed up, just be open to that and be willing to flow with that, okay, and receive that. Number three, you are not helpless. Here's the message. What can you do? You have power. And this is not power over others, by the way. It's nothing weird like that. Bear with me. You are powerful. Any idea to the contrary is a lie you are telling yourself or that you bought somewhere else. What power do you have in your current situation, and how can you utilize it to your advantage for the highest good? So, again, not power over others. However, sometimes we have this thing where we're like, we buy this lie or we heard it from someone else, or maybe we're getting something out of operating in a certain way where we're like, oh, I can't change the situation. Oh, I can't change this. Oh, I can't change this. And it's just not necessarily true. The example that's coming through here is like if you're at a job you hate and you're like, oh, I can't change this. I have to pay the bills for the kids. Oh, I have to set a responsible example. Um, for the people in my life. Oh, I can't quit. I just got this job 6 months ago and I need it to be on my resume for 3 years to get a better job. And that's not necessarily true. Probably as much anymore in, today's society, and trust your own intuition and get on it as well. Like trust how things work for you. At the same time, a lot of you are not powerless in your circumstances, and you can change a lot more than you realize if you really look for it and allow it and ask for it. So it reminds me a bit of what came through a while ago about manifesting your way out of certain situations where you feel stuck. And like you do have that power of manifestation and the ability to create different and the ability to make different choices in your life every day and create different habits that will uplift you and help move things in a different direction. Like you have the power to glow yourself up, for example, if you start, it depends on how you'd like to approach it. But if you start working on your gifts every day and intuition to glow up your gifts, if you start working on like becoming in shape and exercise and eating properly to feel more energetic and abundant in life with how you feel and feeling better. And also maybe that helps you with your looks as well, depending on what you're into and what the people you're into are into and things like that. I didn't say that quite right, but what's the best way to say this here? Depending on the dating pool you're working with, might be a better way to say it. So, where do you have power for the highest good in your current situation? And how can you leverage that for the highest good? And again, we're not trying to use our power to control people. We're not trying to get power over others to control everything and bend it to our will. It's using your power for the highest good, whether that's your magic, your manifestation, your gifts, your ability to make different choices, your ability to change your beliefs and change your reality, whatever it is, okay? Just know you're not helpless and look for where you do have power to change things and to have a better world. Number 4 here, they showed me a ghost. They just said, can you enjoy your life in spooky season? I know we're in October. We're coming up on Halloween here. Can you find the joy in your life regardless of what you're going through is also what that means, though. So where is the joy and how can you have more of that? So where are the things that light you up and can you choose to bring those in more? So if hanging out with friends brings you joy and that's one of your joy areas right now, can you schedule that every week so that you have something to look forward to every week? Or can you find a way to incorporate that more? Of course, whatever works for you. That's pretty much all that's saying is like, where is the joy and can you bring that in more and have that spark of life more? So your life is more of what you'd like it to be. And sometimes just getting in the energy of joy and changing our own energies more frequently to what's going to serve us and what's high vibrational can have a knock-on effect on our reality and what's showing up for us in the rest of our world. An example could be maybe you walk into I know not many in this crowd are going to be like into bars probably, but nothing wrong if you are. But if you walk into a bar or a restaurant and you're in joy and like peace and like a high vibration, that is probably going to attract people more, or maybe the kind of people you'd like to attract more than like if you walk in and you're just like, everything sucks. Like most people are gonna be like, stay away from that person. And that might not be totally true for all of you, but you kind of know the gist of what I'm saying is like if you're in that more attractive frequency, you're probably going to be attracting more that you'd like to attract. Okay. And that goes for like taking care of yourself as well and like self care, self love, if you will. What are the things that nourish you so you can be in the optimal vibration for your life and the optimal state of being for your life and give yourself a fighting chance in your world, instead of operating on like depletion or fumes and wondering why no one's attracted to that. You know what I'm saying? What's the best way to say it though? Or just like wondering why things aren't working out when you keep depleting yourself and then operating on depletion. And then you're like, why am I so depleted? Or why isn't this working out a certain way? It's like, well, are you also taking care of yourself and approaching it in a way where it's both? It's the external and it's also the internal and how you're doing, and having more of a dance with that than just like only focusing on external, not realizing you're depleted, not filling yourself up, and then being like, why isn't this all working? It's like, well, you're part of the equation, if you will. You're part of what's showing up. And there's this quote that's like, you're the common denominator in your life. Uh, no one else really is. So it's not to say everything's your fault and to get you to blame yourself. It's just getting you to look at both what's external and internal, if you will. So next thing they showed me, the words big change. They said, you are still in a season of major change. You will see more of that this week. Allow the shifts and things will get great. That's just what I heard. So allow the big changes, allow the shifts, allow you to shift, allow the universe to steer you and how you approach things to shift things. And there are a lot of minor changes as well that could add up to big changes. So don't discount the small moves or maneuvers you're making or guided to make in addition to the big ones, because all the small things could be preparing you for the big things later on or down the road or right after. So don't discount the little changes you're guided to make or that you are making or that are coming in as well. Because it's like, what is that allowing in next? Or what is that allowing? Number 6, they showed me a mirror. They just said, can you reflect on the past and allow yourself to shift? This is a major season for reflection. The more you're reflecting on your past and where you're at right now, the better things are going to get. And you'll be operating from wisdom instead of random choices. I'd say very few of you are operating on random choices, actually, as I read that. However, there are a couple of you that this will really benefit, where if you're taking into account the context of your life and what you've been through, it'll just be easier to make better choices because you'll start to connect the dots on, oh, when I chose this way, things always worked out that way that I didn't like. So we're going to switch that up. Or, that's an example. So now's a great time to reflect and maybe journal, channel on the past, or just see what comes up as you meditate or kind of sit with things and make better choices from there. For some reason, reflection is important though. So there's more on this though. Can you reflect on your past relationships, your past job situations, and reflect on the past, both things you might consider good and things you might consider bad, and start to ask the question, like, what was the gift in this? There's a question I'm going to borrow from, I've heard it somewhere else. It's like, what awareness did I gain from this? So what awareness did you gain from that really crappy relationship you had where someone treated you really badly? Well, you might have gained the awareness on how not to choose those kind of people, or what it's like leading up to those situations so you never get in them again. Maybe you gain the awareness of how valuable you are in certain situations that were rougher, and you won't allow yourself to go back to those crappy places. So there could be a lot going on with that. I borrowed that question from someone in Access Consciousness, that modality that I was listening to one time. And it's a good one to reflect on or approach intuitively with certain things that have gone on, especially that you might judge as like bad before looking at the gift that might have been inherent within a situation. Okay. So, those are a couple different angles. Like, what gift did I gain from this? What awareness did I gain? Things like that. But that might help your life be greater than just judging it right away or beating up on yourself right away, instead of like, okay, what could this be creating? What's the gift from this, etc. Okay, so there's another thing they're going to bring through here, and I would do your best not to be on autopilot this week. And I do my best to approach things intuitively or with your awareness or just to the best of your ability. I know different ones of you are in different places. Some of you are advanced and you just channel all the time. And some of you are like, what's meditation? So, and there's nothing wrong with any of it or where you're at. So just do your best with it. I would say, how can you be optimally present and free from being on autopilot enough to just really notice what's going on and really notice the power of your choices and what they create for you, whether it's choices you're making every day, like a habit, or bigger choices that alter the directions of your career or other things. And it's kind of important you're not making choices on autopilot right now for whatever reason and really sitting with like, okay, what will this create if I choose this? Or what is this going to be like if I choose this? Or what is it going to, yeah, things like that. So, for this next phase, that's what I have as far as channeled advice on the week ahead. These next few messages, I'm breaking it down into channeled advice on the week ahead for fire signs, earth signs, air signs, and water signs. And it's supposed to be for your sun, moon, and rising signs. So you might have to look that up if you're new to this as far as your astrology for what's your sun sign, what's your moon sign, what's your rising sign. Because all three of those are meant to apply. But you can also just click on the ones that call to you that you know are in your chart like that, okay? If it's like just sun sign or whatever. So for the fire signs for channel advice on the week ahead, they show me a spider and the word roar. They said, now is the time to get past fear and do what you're here to do. What are you called to do this week to move forward where you haven't been able to move forward before? So it's kind of like getting over the hump of fear, getting over resistance to take action or to do the things you know you need to do and not delaying that too much or and it's also about not giving your power away to your fear when you could maybe you could potentially have a really great life on the other side of taking action on the things you're afraid to take action on, whether it's down the road or right away or something like that. So keep that in mind. It's time to roar and move forward and not let fear hold you back. Earth signs, get grounded and take action. Now is an action oriented period. And the more you're giving the universe the opportunity to help you through your actions, the better. So, for example, putting yourself out there on a dating app will give the universe more opportunities to bring you love. And there's like a certain intentionality with having that, downloaded on your phone that can help manifest it, even if it's not through the app. Okay. So that's kind of a twofold thing. But um, get grounded and take action. Now is an action oriented period. The more you're giving the universe the opportunity to help you through the actions you are taking, the better. So it's almost like I don't totally like the phrase meeting the universe halfway because it's like, what if it doesn't just have to be halfway? What if it's like you move 1%, the universe moves 99% or whatever it is? So meeting the universe in a certain part way ish kind of level or kind of metaphor, with what you're doing. So it's not just sitting on the couch and eating potato chips asking for money, though if that works for you, great. It's also like, okay, I'm asking for money and I'm going to take this action to help bring it in because that's what I'm being guided to do and that feels light to me. Or intuitively, that's what I'm getting, something like that. So anything else with that? Just remember to take action and you'll be doing great if you're taking action. Next, with the air signs, this is a flow week for the air signs. Flow with what the universe is bringing you, flow with your ideas, and follow what flows instead of forcing things, especially if they are crashing. The universe has better for you if you will keep flowing. So, kind of like the main message earlier, like don't force things, really flow with what's working. And sometimes that's the key is like something's working. It's like, okay, let's keep working with this. Cause you might be like, oh, mentally, I think I need to work on this aspect of my business, or I need to work on this book. But every time you go, it just won't work, or it just like gets really jammed up, or it's just not flowing. And you're like, and it's like, maybe there's a reason. Maybe there's a divine timing to when that book is supposed to be written and out, or a divine timing to, like, maybe you hear something somewhere else. You're supposed to get some information before you're supposed to work on this business so it works a lot better. Or maybe you're just not ready, but this other part of your business or this other project really is flowing. Can you go with that instead and trust the flow and trust the universe instead of forcing what you think needs to happen is kind of the message. So keep that in mind. And the universe has better for you if you will keep flowing. And anything else on that? They're just saying like, hey, you're forcing things, stop forcing things, okay? Even if it's relationships and not just like business related, like you're trying to force this thing in love. And if you just give it space to breathe and let things flow, that will flow. It works out a lot better. Or if you're trying to like control other people, like stop doing that. Like it's not going to work. Like focus on you instead and focus on what the universe is showing you about people instead of what you want to be true about people is something I'm getting as well. Excuse me. So for the water signs, they just said force is a killer. It's time to sit back and let the universe do the work instead of trying to control by doing everything yourself. Don't force things. Try not to control everything and see if you can guide things rather than having to micromanage them. The more you allow the universe to do the work it can do for you and to contribute to you, the better. So sometimes we think we have to do everything ourselves, and this is saying, what can you leave to the universe or maybe even other people? And how can you stop micromanaging your world, your life, your business, whatever you're doing if you notice that you are doing that, and begin to allow certain things in life to take the reins themselves instead of trying to force them to be a certain way or go a certain direction, or trying to force a square peg in a round hole when the square peg is just like, hey, let me move over to the square peg hole and fall in myself or something like that. So now is not a time to try to force people to see things your way was an additional message. So if you're trying to change people, force people to see things your way when they're just not doing it, maybe it's time to be an allowance of them and let them realize what they need to realize at the right time and be on their journey. And you can focus on yourself instead. So both the air signs and water signs, if you have both of those in your chart, there's this big message about not forcing things and allowing things to flow. And I'll repeat this part. Like, see if you can guide things in your life rather than having to like micromanage them and do everything yourself. Um, Hopefully that makes a bit of sense. Sometimes when you try to macromanage everything, it's just like too much for you, or it just doesn't work. You get overwhelmed, um, and sometimes that's not your role. Okay, so anything else with the water before we move on? I don't think so. I would also recommend for you to allow things to flow, kind of like the air signs. That's it. So I hope that helped. Well, they're showing me a T Rex for the water signs before we part ways here, and there's this weird message of like just because you're king doesn't mean you rule everything. So even if you are like the leader of a business, it doesn't mean you own your employees, for example, if it has employees or like own every little thing. Um, because they are contributing to you and their business and your business, excuse me. And you have them as assistants, but it doesn't mean you control them. Does that make sense? It's like you can guide them, you can direct them, you can do things that are mutually beneficial. Um, but again, it's not your job to force everything and force square pegs into round holes or anything like that. So I'm getting you guys get it. I hope that helped, resonated to whatever was for your highest good. If you'd ever like to go further with me and my work, you can check out my website, brandonhbloom.com, and there will be links in the description. I also have channeled art with channeled energy healing symbols at valeuart.com. You can take a look at that too. And I'm now offering one on one channeled intuitive readings as well as channeled life coaching. If that calls to you, you can find all that on my website. And you can also go further with more channeled content through the Let's Go Higher membership on my website as well. And there's monthly lives. There are deep dives in the month ahead that go along with and go further than the YouTube channel messages in the month ahead. There's a full channel mode session that goes out every month and a channel guided meditation that goes out every month as well. So if that calls to you, you can find that on my website. Otherwise, you have a good rest of your day or evening and have a good week.